We're live.
Okay, good stuff. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to Havas Village here on Cuff Street in Dublin. You're all very welcome this morning. We had a great first session last week. I think it went really, really well. The feedback that we've had has been really, really strong, and so we're really looking forward to session number 2 today.
I want to say welcome back to everybody who came last week, and to those who missed last week's session, you're very welcome. Just want to remind you that we will be sending out a link to a recording for this session and to last week's session to everybody who has registered and attended, and we'll also be sending out the presentation. So you can, if you miss something, don't worry, you'll have time to go back over it. That's about it. Without further delay, move on, because there's a lot to get through. I'll hand you back over to Adam, who's going to introduce you to the first presenter.
Before I introduce you to the first presenter, just a reminder about questions. So we are taking questions throughout the whole session through the chat function. So drop your questions in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of all 3 presentations. So what we have coming up for you today, firstly up will be Fergal, who's our head of programmatic here at Havas, and he's going to be talking about online display and online video. Then we'll have Fiona Murray, who's the PPC manager here, who's going to be talking about paid search. And finally, I'm going to do a little bit of a wrap-up session. We've covered a lot of topics over the last, or will have covered a lot of topics over the last 2 sessions. So I'm going to give you a little help on how to tie all that together, and then we'll do the questions and answers session. So without further ado, I'll invite Fergal to come on and kick us off for the day with display and online video.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm Fergal. I'm the head of programmatic here at Havas. So I'm going to take you through kind of a brief intro to programmatic today, try and keep it as interesting as possible. So I've split the section into 4 parts. So like I said, I'm going to give a brief intro into programmatic. I know for myself, before I started working in programmatic, I had no idea what it is. So probably good to get a bit of a grounding in it. Next, then I'm going to go through some of the most common targeting strategies that we use. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about making use of first-party data. Not going to spend too much time on this, probably needs a separate session. And then the last section is going to be about setting KPIs and optimizing campaigns. So once the campaigns are up and running, what we can do to make sure they're running smoothly. So first of all, I'll just go through a brief intro of programmatic. What is programmatic? It's basically the use of technology and data to buy audience segments across the internet. So if you think about it, before programmatic, you would have had to contact each publisher directly and ask them, can we put a digital ad on your website or a video website? Now that's all streamlined. We can do it through a Google platform called DV360. We basically have access to the whole internet. It's an open marketplace. So we can buy display, video, and audio imagery across the internet through this platform. So the main benefit is the efficiency of programmatic. So like I said, it's about using an automated system to help make these media buying decisions. We can target people across all devices. So that includes desktops, tablets, connected TVs. And there's 3 main ways to buy the imagery. So like I said, we can buy this across the open exchange. We can use private marketplace deals, or we can do PG deals. So I'll just go into a bit of detail about the 3 ways we can buy it now. So the open auction is probably the most scalable method. That's basically us buying any imagery across the internet, across any site. Then PMP deals are a bit more specific. So that's us contacting a publisher, setting up a preferred deal. So it's still a lot of open imagery available, but there's only a set amount of people allowed bid on it. So you can see in the graphics there, the private marketplace on the right. It is still an auction, so you still have to bid, but there's only a certain amount of people involved in the bid rather than an open exchange. The last one now is a private deal, or a PG deal, as they're called. So that's programmatic guaranteed. What that means is it's essentially a direct booking with a publisher that's done programmatically. So you agree a fixed price, a fixed amount of inventory. They deliver that inventory by the end of the campaign. So that's kind of the closest to an old style digital buy rather than programmatic itself. So they're just the 3 main ways we can buy. There are other ways, but these are the most common. Some of the benefits of programmatic. So like I said at the start, the old way of buying digital was very time consuming. You'd have to go direct to each publisher, whereas now we can do it in real time through a Google platform. We can buy across the whole internet. So it's a huge diverse inventory pool, and we can target people wherever they're browsing. So that doesn't matter what device they're on. We can also cross target people. So if they're browsing on a mobile, later on they're on a desktop, we can reach them on both environments. The next thing about efficiency is we can refine these insights. So if a campaign is live for 2 weeks or more, we can actually pull reports and see how it's performing against certain devices or certain audience groups and upweight depending on that. Another benefit is it's centralized. So the bookings are all taken to our team. We have an ad ops team internally. So in terms of ease of use for you guys to send us a booking, we can then do everything on our side. That includes tagging, optimizing creatives, assigning budgets to each creatives and picking the audience that we're going to target. Also, it's an agile system. Again, tying back, we have an in-house ad ops team, so any kind of troubleshooting that needs to be done can be done on our side without much back and forth. So I suppose the point to drive home here is the simplicity of it. You know, we know how to do this stuff, so we can take care of that. Then optimization in line with campaign goals. So obviously, depending on the type of campaign, a lot of these campaigns would be fundraising campaigns that we're talking about now. So the goal would be to drive the most amount of conversions possible. A conversion being a donation in this case. So what we can do then is see how certain demographics or certain locations or certain device types are performing and allocate more budget to these device types to make sure we're maximizing donations. So I suppose in a nutshell, the biggest benefit I would say is the cost efficiencies of programmatic, because we're not wasting any money. We're only spending against people that are likely to convert. And then one last thing, the last benefit, maybe the most important thing at the moment, is the brand safety. So obviously when you say you can target the whole internet, it could sound maybe unsafe. There's a couple of dodgy sites, but we've got robust brand safety standards in place, including IAB certification. We've got site level transparency. We've got block lists and site lists that we can update in real time, depending on any events in the news, to ensure we're not appearing against like unsavory content and content that's only suitable for the campaign. Here's just a screen grab of some effective ad formats. So you can see on the left here, these are the display formats. There's some high impact formats I'm sure you've seen at the top of websites. There's a leaderboard at the top, which is a big format suitable for desktops. Then we've got smaller ones that are suitable for mobile. So again, from what we've seen over campaigns over the last few years even, is the importance of having mobile friendly creatives. A lot of people are doing their browsing on mobiles nowadays. So it's good to have these smaller sizes just so we can target these devices. And then also a good plan of action is to have higher impact formats. So when people are on desktop or even connected TV, they can see bigger display formats or even video formats. So you can see on the right then there's in-read video is another format we'd recommend. That's kind of an organic looking post that when you're scrolling through an article, a video pops up. And then obviously we've got YouTube there, which is a huge reach driver. There's a huge audience available on YouTube. So it's important to have kind of a mix of these copies for a full funnel campaign. So that's just a brief intro of programmatic. The next step is the targeting strategy. So like I said, this isn't an exhaustive list of what we can do. It's probably the 6 most common ones that we would see for our clients at the moment. So geo and demo is kind of self-explanatory. We can target different locations or different age groups, different demographics. Contextual then is targeting different sections of websites, for example, travel sections, motor sections, sports sections, depending on what client we're working with, we would decide, you know, which section indexes well against their target audience. Affinity and in-market then are based on people's browsing history. So on the back end, Google pulls together people that have shown an affinity for certain topics. So it might be dog charities or different types of charities, depending on what people are interested in. And then in-market to be similar, it's built on people's browsing history, but it would be more further down the funnel. So it'd be a bit more detailed rather than an interest. It would be people who have actively sought to purchase something or make a purchase decision. Custom affinity and custom intent then are very similar to the previous two. The main difference is that they're customizable. So we can actually pick keywords and websites and build an audience ourselves. So this is great for niche, some of the niche charities that we might be working with, because there might not be predefined segments already on Google. So we can make our own segments, which is great. And then remarketing, maybe the most important one for fundraising campaigns, to have a conversion goal. This is basically targeting people that have already engaged with an ad or visited a charity's website. So I'll get into that a little bit further in the next few slides, but basically we can track people's actions on websites. So that shows that they're a high propensity to convert or donate, shows that they are interested and they have donated before. So in this slide, it's just about creating a full funnel of targeting, which would be our kind of blanket suggestion. It's not a one size fits all, but it is a good starting point. So we like to go with awareness, consideration, and then drive conversion. So my recommendation would be we don't go straight for conversion, even though you think we just want to drive donations, but it's important to also get awareness, which we would drive by using kind of broad targeting strategies like geo and demo and contextual. So again, this does depend on the campaign, but I think it's important to note that the path to conversion is not always linear. So this full funnel strategy captures everyone at every stage of the journey. So we're maximizing the amount of people that we're reaching. And just the last point here is best practice in this full funnel strategy is to use each strategy for a minimum of 2 weeks, just so we can build up learnings and see if it's working, because sometimes there's a tendency to maybe set up a consideration campaign with in-market targeting and it doesn't work after 3 or 4 days, you pull the plug. But in reality, that's not enough time to know if it was actually working. So a minimum of 14 days, just so we can see, you know, we can pull some granular data and see who's converting, what age groups aren't working, what locations are working, etc. So it's just a best practice. The next slide is about creatives then. So kind of tying into the same funnel strategy I was just speaking about, is it's important to kind of have a good mix of creatives. So obviously for the awareness stage, we want to use video creatives, a mix of long form and short form, just to get the message across. Videos are obviously a very powerful tool. You know, they can really impact people, especially if they're stories that people can relate to, charity stories. Then we also recommend high impact display for this stage, because these are kind of in your face, top of premium website. You see them straight away when you go on the website. Then we move down the funnel to the consideration phase. So again, we'd kind of be leaning towards a shorter form video here and display formats. And then finally is the conversion phase, which is where we track actual conversion. So people that have donated. So that would be a primarily display assets we would recommend there. So yeah, again, the point to stress here is the full funnel from awareness, consideration, conversion. In best practice would be to have all sorts of creative assets if they're available. So longer and short form videos and display assets. And then yeah, the conversion phase, what we track there is people who have actually donated and the amount they have donated. Here's just an example targeting strategy that I threw together for the Dublin Dog Sanctuary. So using the funnel strategy I've been speaking about here, stage one would be, you know, we want to generate awareness to as many people as possible within reason. So what we do there is target general animal lovers across the web, or people who have shown an interest in animals. The next phase then we would use a variety of display creatives and YouTube bumper ads. So YouTube bumper ad is a short 6-second video that we can target to people that have already engaged with a previous ad. So it's a cost effective in the sense that we're only targeting people that have already engaged. So we know that they have an interest in the ad and they have shown a propensity to donate to the particular charity. The last stage then, so the final stage of the funnel, is retargeting. So again, this is people that have engaged with the ad already, or maybe people that have previously donated a year before, or 6 months before, or a certain time frame before. So we know that these people are interested and they are very highly likely to donate. Just some example budgets on the right there. So again, we can tailor this depending on the size of the budget that's available, but these are just some examples. Making use of first party data then, I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but in general, if you think about it, your website is your own website. So any data that, you know, people leave on that website, and once it's in line with the cookie policy, you can use that data. So it's important, and it is high value data, because these are people who have visited your website. So they are interested in the charity of choice. So what we can do as a service is put tags on this website so we can actually track this data. Then we can optimize towards people who have donated a certain amount. So I suppose the biggest benefit here is, again, we're only targeting people that are already interested. So it's another cost saving measure, very easy to set up on our side. So it would be something that you could just give us a call about and we could get this set up. And then the overall picture we get here is clear. So we know exactly who the target audience is, where kind of what geo they live in, what demographic they're part of, what their interests are. And then on the back of that, we can target similar people to try and maximize conversions. And then setting KPIs and optimizing, I think this is a very important step, because Sometimes we run campaigns and at the outset, maybe we hadn't made clear what a successful campaign would look like. So I think it's important to set out at the start what goals we're trying to achieve with the campaign. So I guess for a lot of the fundraising campaigns, it would actually be conversions, which are at the bottom of the funnel. But for some of the awareness activity, the goal wouldn't necessarily be conversions. It would be reach or viewability for display ads. So viewability is the amount of the ad that's visible on screen that people can see. And then for video ads, it would obviously be completion rate. We want to see people watch the ad to the end. Then for the consideration phase, we'd be looking at clicks and website to the traffic. And then last but not least is the conversion phase, where we actually track how many conversions we achieved and at what cost. And then optimizing the campaigns, this again will be all done on our side throughout the campaign. So once we agree on the KPIs at the outset, whether we want to achieve reach or completion rates or conversions, we'll optimize on our side to make sure we're reaching these KPIs and maximizing performance. This is done by manual adjustments from our team internally. And also we lean on Google's machine learning, which picks up tons of data points across the campaign and can automatically optimize towards people who are already converting and similar people to them. So it's just another efficiency that we have. So these automated bidding strategies automatically do a lot of the work. And then we can obviously check industry trends on our side as well and make annual adjustments that are needed. So yeah, I suppose the final point is just the benefits of programmatic are the efficiencies, the cost savings, and the reporting tools that we can, the data that we can report back on, which is quite granular. So I hope that wasn't too boring, and that's it for me. And I'm going to hand it over to Fiona here as the PPC manager, and she's going to go through some paid search slides.
So hi, I'm Fiona, the PPC manager here at Havas Media, and today I'm going to take you through how to get the most out of your paid search activity. So whether you're brand new to running paid search ads or you do have a bit of experience but want a bit of a refresher, especially when it comes to incorporating some of Google's new features into your campaigns. During the next few slides, I'll go through some of the basics along with some of the most recent best practices for both setting up and managing your campaign and really driving those cost efficiencies while doing so. So before I get into that, I'll just have a quick recap on some of the benefits of running paid search activity, particularly through Google. So paid search remains one of the most effective channels for reaching those really high quality users and driving them to your website. And when the campaigns are optimized, you can do this at a really cost effective rate. Also, because of this, reaching those high quality users, it remains one of the best paid channels in driving conversions and tends to have the strongest conversion rate from that activity. So unlike a lot of other marketing strategies, you only pay for the ads that are actually clicked on. And even if the ads aren't clicked on, it remains as a great way to stay top of mind for those high intent users when they might be looking around and researching other relevant search terms. So just kicking off with Google's quality score. So this is one of the main things to bear in mind when both setting up a campaign and while optimizing your campaigns. So this is essentially a diagnostic tool meant to give you a sense of how well your ad quality compares to other advertisers. And it's essentially ranked on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's available at the keyword level of your report within Google Ads platform. So essentially a higher quality score means that your ad and landing page are more relevant and useful to someone searching for your keyword compared to other advertisers. And essentially, at the end of the day, Google is a business and wants their users to have a seamless journey. So if your ad and your landing page are highly relevant and tailored to the searches you're appearing for, Google will in turn reward you with higher ad rank, along with having that at a premium cost. So I'll reference this throughout the rest of the presentation. But yeah, there's many elements to building out a PPC campaign, and when done right from the get-go, it really helps earn you that high quality score and drive those high quality leads, and also do it at a cost-effective rate. So throughout the next few slides, I'll be bringing you through choosing your campaign type, creating goals and metrics, performing keyword research, creating compelling ad copy, and managing those campaign optimizations. So as I mentioned earlier, search remains the best way to target those high intent users at the exact moment they are looking for what you offer or similar to what you offer. And while you can run other ad types on Google, we'll predominantly focus on the search aspect throughout the next few slides. So when you're creating a campaign, you can select a goal. And when you select this goal, it's really important to ensure it aligns with the objectives you want to achieve out of this strategy. And this can be leads, website traffic, or sales, which in this case would be more geared towards donations. So you can choose one goal per campaign. And it's quite important that you get this right to begin with, because as the campaign runs, it will help align with Google's automated bidding strategies and just help you get in front of the right users that has the attention you want to achieve your own marketing goals. So the next step is doing your keyword research and just ensuring you have the right keywords in your campaigns to drive those objectives you want. So the easiest way to do this is using Google's Keyword Planner. So this is a free tool within Google's platform, and it's available on the top right in the tools and settings. And essentially, you're allowed to feed the tool, a couple of phrases that you want to target within your strategy, but also provide them with the landing pages you want to target. And from this, the Keyword Planner will provide you with a wide range of relevant keywords and quite a comprehensive list, but it includes average monthly searches, typical costs you'll be paying for that keyword, along with how the search demand varies month by month. And yeah, from this, you can just harvest the keywords you think would be most suitable for what you want to achieve. And based on the demand, weight the budget accordingly on a month by month basis. So just in terms of additional keyword research, so this is more on the manual side, and it's also really helpful to type the kind of terms you want to target into Google's search bar. So for example, if you want to adopt a dog, in the drop-down list, you'll see the most relevant searches to that phrase within the last 30 days. And this also appears at the bottom of Google search results page. So it really is helpful for building up those long tail keywords in the account, and also triggering some keywords that mightn't have necessarily shown up in the planner. And another free Google tool, which is always really useful, is Google Trends. So this essentially shows you how certain phrases how the search demand has fluctuated, and this can be on a month-to-month basis, and you can go back from 12 months up to 5 months or up to 5 years. So yeah, it just really allows you to plan your marketing strategy according to how that demand fluctuates and make the most out of your marketing budget. So once you have the keywords you want to target, the next step is grouping them into themes so you can have the most structured campaign and set you up for the performance. So I did an example of how I'd break down a campaign for a Dublin Dog Sanctuary. So you'll see I have brand and generic separated into two campaigns. And then within them, I have created themes through ad groups and included the keywords I want to have grouped within those ad groups. So if we just look at one, for example, in campaign 2, generic, and then ad group 1, rescue, adopt. So within this, you will see I have all the keywords that I want grouped together within this ad group. And this will become important to strategically group in this way, because from this you can then go on and tailor highly specific ad copy. So when your ad does appear for one of those keywords, you can have the ad copy with those keywords in it. And from that, both increase your quality score and also increase the chances someone is to click through to your ad. So from this, the next step is to write great ad copy. And I'll just go through some of the predominant features for running ads through search at the moment. So as of June this year, responsive search ads has become the prominent ad type to run within your Google campaigns. And you should have one responsive search ad per ad group. And you are allowed to have up to 15 headlines and up to 4 descriptions. And from this, Google's algorithms will choose the best combination of 3 headlines and the best combinations of 2 descriptions to show based on the search it's appearing for. So from creating those headlines rich with keywords that are in that ad group just increases your chances of ranking high and again getting that click through. Another ad type is dynamic search ads, which is also relatively new within Google's campaign. And best practice is to have one of these per campaign, and it essentially allows you to feed Google some of your web pages and some descriptions, and then Google crawls your web page and fills in the gaps in terms of headlines, but also targets searches that you mightn't necessarily already be targeting with your keywords. So really fills in those gaps, widens the net, but also still remaining really relevant to what's on your website and utilizing that content. So then that brings us on to bidding strategies. So automated bidding strategies essentially takes the heavy lifting out of creating a manual bid for each and every keywords, and instead allows Google to set a bid for each and every auction, depending on how relevant that search is, and taking a wide range of signals into consideration. So that can be location, time of day, someone's past browsing history, and if they're deemed to be a highly valued user. So I've included an example of, say, if your goal is to drive conversions, you should align your bidding strategies with that goal. And again, if it is to target, just drive traffic to the website, you might be looking more at maximize clicks and conversions. So I know I said we would predominantly focus on search ads, but one of the up and coming features of within the Google Ads platform at the moment is performance max campaigns. And this allows you to essentially upload your Google search ads, your display ads, YouTube ads, and any other inventory you have, set a budget, and with Google's algorithms, they can then determine who the ad should show for, on what platform, whether it be Gmail, display, YouTube, search, maps. And from initial results, it's just been out of beta for about a year, but conversions have genuinely increased by at least 20% just by allowing Google's algorithms to kind of take control of that targeting. So just finally, there are many ways to continue to optimize your campaigns, you know, whether it be reweighting budgets or adding new ad copy, but to continue to get the best results without increasing your budget, again, just going back to what I started with, it really is about improving your quality score. So you can do this by improving the expected click-through rate. So if you go through your campaigns at a keyword level, focus on those ones, those keywords you're driving below average status, and just focus getting more of those keywords into the ad copy, or finding some of the match types, and yeah, just increase those chances of people clicking through to your ad. So very similar to improving the relevance of the ads. As we mentioned before, create tightly themed ad groups with only related keywords, and make sure your ads are closely related to those keywords. And then last thing, which would kind of tie into your SEO activity, so improve the landing page experience. So review how useful is your landing page to someone who clicks on the ad, if you are directing them to the correct landing page that suits what they're searching for. And yeah, does the landing page have the content to answer what it is that person needs? And yeah, is it clear in what action you want them to take? So that's it for the paid search. So yeah, I hope that was useful. And yeah, I'll just bring Adam back in now to wrap us up.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Okay, so thanks very much to Fiona and Fergal for their really informative sessions today. And you know, we've heard quite a lot over the last couple of days, sessions on many different areas. So what I wanted to do was just sort of try and help. And how do we actually put that together? If we're starting a fundraising campaign, you know, what is it that we should be doing to make all of this work together? Where do I start? So we've heard about content and own media, including your email and website. We heard about both paid search and search engine optimization. We heard about social media, and we heard about online display, and we heard about video. And all of these things work really well together. But I think it's really important to remember that, you know, just because we're in the new digital world, it doesn't mean that everything else is out the window. A lot of the key principles still hold with digital as well. Ultimately, what we're going to try to do to drive the most effective fundraising campaign is a mixture of creating, you know, great brand building activity that's emotive, that really delivers mental availability, that, you know, taps into the emotional response that we're looking to get from prospective donors. And then also a response driving element, which is about targeting and delivering the right information, and that idea of physical availability. And when we talk about physical availability in regards to digital, it's all about the website and that platform, and is it optimized. So we've covered a lot of this over the last couple of days in its digital form. Remember as well, and you will all know this, that campaigns with some element of both, that have that emotional element but also that highly targeted response drive element, are going to have a better performance. And a lot of the research would show particularly in the charity sector, because it's relatively easier to generate an emotive response, that you can lean heavier into that response driving activity that's ultimately going to lead to more donations. But to get to maximum out of that, and we've seen a couple of funnels over the course of the presentations, you really need that sort of full funnel approach to digital. And I think you want to drive towards a place where you're always on, but budgets might not always allow for that. But what are we trying to do across that fundraising specific funnel, like between generating awareness, keeping people interested, getting people involved in different activities and fundraising activities that you have going on, driving them to donate, and then turning them into advocates and sharing. So what we really need to do is to make people care, keep them engaged, and drive a response. So where do I start? And I'm kind of coming at this with a media agency hat on, and while the media stuff that we've talked about over the last couple of days is really, really important, and the individual elements of that will add up to delivering an effective campaign, whether that be the targeting, the reach you achieve, etc. We have to recognize that the number one determinant of the success of a campaign is going to be the creative and the content. So sort of starting with that and understanding what that is going to be, getting that emotional content right, is what's ultimately going to make for the most effective campaign. And then having that in mind with when you're looking at your channel selection is going to ultimately lead to a better campaign as well. So then you need to really decide on the channels that work best, and some research here. It is UK based research, but just showing for the charity sector what channels are best at response driving and brand building. And we do see the sort of same channels coming up. So for response driving, we see the likes of digital display, we see video, we see email, we see social, we see audio and search. And for brand building, then we see audio, video, display, social, and email. So we can see from this, and in the kind of top right corner here, what are the strongest at driving both a brand and response. So if you're looking for sort of a starting point, things like video, social, and display can drive both emotion and response. So if we go back to the earlier slide, if that's what we're trying to achieve, those are the channels that you might start to think about in the first instance. It's also really important to understand your audience as well, and what are the platforms that they're using, not just going on sort of a channel level, but thinking about what partners you might use is really, really important too. When we look at some data that we have access to here at the agency, we see that the majority of those that donate to charities are 35 plus, with 65 plus being the biggest group within that as well. And this is something that we've known for a while. When we break that down, things like one-off donations that are coming in online, it skews slightly younger, with older audiences more likely to sign up for things like direct debits. But still, ultimately the older group being the biggest group there. In order to kind of refine that down a little bit, something that you may know about, but you may not know that you have access to within your Google Analytics, is to look at the different profiles of those that are visiting your site and those that are converting to donations on your site. So within the navigation function there is a navigation that lets you to look at sort of the age, the demographics, the geography of different donors, what are they interested in, which can be great for like passing on into your display campaign, for example, in terms of things like contextual strategies, which Fergal talked about earlier on. You can, as I said, look at all of the visitors to the site. You can just look at people who visited certain pages, or you can look at donors versus non-donors, and to see what the differences are in those groups, and feed that into your thinking about who the audience is that you're looking to target. I think, going back to the older audience, we should also be conscious that they do tend to donate more. They're more likely to donate amounts over €100, and much more likely to donate amounts over 250 as well. And as those audiences get older, the amount donated increases. So in thinking about those older audiences online and thinking about the types of platforms that they're using, There are some good, tips for where to get started. So do think about Meta, particularly Facebook, when it comes to social, as being your lead platform. There may be a role for something like Twitter, but you do see that the reach really drops off with things like TikTok, for that age group. We do see as well, online video being quite strong for that audience as well. So thinking about something like YouTube or the in-read video options that come up on news websites. News websites also perform very strongly for that group, which means that things like display, when targeted right with the right partners, can also deliver the results that you need. One big advantage that the charity sector has over a lot of other sectors, as we're moving towards this sort of change in the way that cookies are working and targeting is working, is that you do own a lot of your own first-party data in terms of email databases, and that's a really powerful tool to leverage in your online channels. So thinking about your email program and how you can enhance that by using that, if you have the email addresses opted in for further marketing. So things that you can do would be to upload those lists of email addresses to advertising platforms like Facebook or like Google, and re-engage with your donors. You can, once you've done that, you can do things like find lookalike audiences and drive them to donate. So it's a really good sort of starting point to find other similar people. And then you could do things like sequence content, from email to social to video. So when you were starting an appeal, perhaps you launched with an email, but then you follow up with an emotive piece of video content on social to that same group of people, and try to drive them through to donate. So just to put sort of everything together, and this is a little bit busy, but we did talk about the idea of a roadmap and giving you a roadmap to success. So just thinking about, this is sort of like an idea for a short-term campaign, if you were looking for a fundraising campaign. Thinking about that funnel that we talked about and the goals of like making people care, keeping them engaged and driving a response. How would we look to activate across digital channels for each of those? So the goal of the awareness phase is really about sort of leveraging emotion to create a connection with the audience. You want a broader focus. You want to look at a lot of prospecting of new donors. In terms of the actual targeting that you use, you might use things like affinity or interests to refine that a little bit. Leading with a very priming sort of emotive brand message, and leading into sort of media channels which are capable of delivering an emotional response, things like online video, social media, and online display. Then it's about keeping people interested in the campaign. So those who did watch the video, did engage with the video, how do I give them more content if they haven't yet donated to keep them engaged with the campaign? So sort of expanding on the theme of the campaign with more stories, showing what the impact of donating is, giving people more reasons to donate. And where you might do that would be places like social media, like search, where you can find that intent, and through your website content, which again, there's a loop back into things like your SEO from that. From an involvement perspective, it's about thinking about that kind of database that you have, those previous supporters and donors, and tapping back into that. So the likes of volunteers, anyone who's engaged with your charity previously, and giving them a reason to donate again. You probably have contact details and have them opted in, so you might set up an email campaign, but you can also use those lists in the likes of social media, online display, and by having great website content, move them along into donating. And then from a donation perspective, it's really about driving a response through really targeted activity. So looking at things like intent-based audiences, where people are giving those signals online that they're really they're ready to donate, and quite direct searches in Google, they've engaged with your campaign previously, and those types of things. Looking at lookalike audiences, looking at retargeting strategies. Again, it's a mix of that emotive messaging, but also impacts kind of messaging. What is it that donating to your charity, what impact is that going to have? And the sort of channels you might think of for that would be things like social media, like search, like online display, like email. So you can see that a lot of the channels do work across the funnel here. And as Fergal said previously, it's not necessarily a linear path. Someone could come straight through and donate, but in order to really give yourself the maximum impact, you need to think across the funnel and placing the right activity with the right targeting across that. Finally, it's about activating your advocates to share your message. So your supporters, your donors, your volunteers, asking them to share your content, or asking them to share that they've already participated in the campaign and donated. And that could be through your email program, through your social media platforms, or on your website. So putting all that together would give you that sort of full funnel approach and sort of the best platform to have a very, very effective fundraising campaign. So just wanted to say thank you very much for listening to us over the last couple of sessions. I'm going to invite Alan and Fiona and Fergal back in, and we're going to answer some of your questions.
Thanks a million, Adam. We have a couple of questions in. I'll wait for the guys to come in. I have to put on my glasses to read this one. There was one that came in from, I'll start with this. This is from Grace. Grace, I'm not sure if you want me to name your organization, work with an autism charity. But basically, how do smaller charities compete in bidding systems with larger organizations that might be bidding for the same words? And a quote was, I took for granted that organic SEO was our best way forward, but can the panel suggest another way forward for us in campaigns? Fiona, you might.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think this is an issue that a lot of, across the board, most advertisers struggle with, that another advertiser will have maybe more of a reputation, or you just assume they'll have bigger budgets. But there's opportunity in seeing what they are doing. It's also really valuable to see those keywords that they mightn't necessarily be bidding on, and through that just target them more directly. And then, at the end of the day, I think one of the things I was trying to drill home is it's all about the quality of your ads. And, if you can get your unique selling point into the ad, have your keywords really refined so that you can create the most engaging ads to show up for that particular search, it could help you rank even higher and at a cheaper cost. So just making sure you have that quality score. And don't be intimidated by if they have the bigger budgets. There's plenty to see what they might not be doing, which might be more helpful than seeing what they actually are doing. So I'd focus on that.
I think it's also vital to sort of stress that every organization, certainly all the clients that we work with in Persuasion Republic, all have a unique selling point. Like the work that you do is extraordinary across the board, and you all have different sort of very specific aspects to you. And I think focusing on those, learning what makes you unique, and it's the stories and it's the people that you help, and making sure that that's front and center. That's, as Adam says, that's the heart of everything. All the techniques that have been discussed over the last couple of sessions are vital and all very important, and will give you a successful campaign. But the engine of it is the heart of it. It's the reason you do the job. It's the reason that we care as much as we do. Your stories, your specific stories, and the specificity of them is the key to everything. That's probably linked. I have to put on the glasses again. That's probably linked to the next question, which came in from people wanting to know, and this probably about if you have a small budget, where do you put a weighting? Is it on video or display? Which would be more important to you if you had a limited budget, as everybody does?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer. It really depends on the charity. So I suppose, more established charities might already have a name for themselves. Smaller ones, like we were saying, might find it more difficult. So I think it really depends. For the charity sector in particular, obviously they are people's individual stories that are going to resonate with other people, and that's why they're going to donate, because they have experience with the sector themselves. So for that reason alone, I think video is probably the more effective format. Obviously video can be more expensive, but I think it goes further because you can cut it down and make different second lengths, and then not to get too into the weeds, but we can optimize then towards the better performing second lengths. But then for purely driving conversions, I think display is also important. So like my answer is you need both, but I think for charities in particular, video is definitely a better medium to get the story across of people, which is ultimately where you're going to catch your target audience. I hope that's a good enough answer.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think I might add to that and say, I think if you're really, really smart about video, that you can really get some, economies of scale out of really thinking about, if you're doing a shoot for some video content, getting as much out of it as you can, getting content for your website that's longer form, but then thinking about those sort of shorter edits that you can use in social media. You can get quite a lot of legs out of like one shoot. So I think, that's definitely something. And we do see from the charity campaigns that we run that, video is, if you can afford to do it, it will elevate the campaign and make ultimately everything you do more effective.
And a lot of it's got to do, from our perspective, a lot of it's got to do with just planning for it. We produce an awful lot of video content for clients, as some of you would know, and they were often tasked with sort of repurposing that. Interviews and stories we told the families to repurpose it for different uses, which you can do, but it's so much more effective when you sort of plan that in advance, and then you can shoot and tell stories and the stories that are at the heart of your organization, and you can shoot them in such a way that you can produce assets that are designed for awareness campaigns, for fundraising campaigns, for different formats. All of that can be done is so much more effective when it's planned in advance. I think it's crucial. I always get overwhelmed, and I can't imagine a lot of you are the same when you talk about so much about the technicalities of digital and all those tools that are available to you. But I keep on going back to the core principles. We always talk about taking digital to the next level, and that sounds like it's going to be super and brilliant, and it will. But the key about the next level is that's just one step away. It's about doing what you can. Every little step you take within your limited capacity, limited budgets, every little step will improve and help. Once you go back to those core principles that we talked about throughout today and through the last session, about keeping digital integrated, make that it's all part of the same pie, and the more channels you use, the more effective they will be. The more that they are integrated with the messaging that you have, the more effective it'll be. And that's very scalable. You can achieve an awful lot on small budgets if you plan it properly and use it across different channels in different ways. And if you lean on producing quality creative based on the quality stories that you have. There's an awful lot of commercial advertisers and campaigns who would dream of having the content, the heart and soul that's in literally every single story that you tell. They fall over themselves trying to invent it, and you have it. It's the reason you exist, and that's the secret to everything. And I go back to the point I made in the presentation last week. The key thing for me that sets all that free is that digital is such a personal medium. Not just because it allows you to tell video and allows you to use audio and it allows you to be very, very, very tactile and intimate, but because it appears on very personal devices, on your personal phone, ads appear on the only websites that you go to, websites that you trust, websites that you know. All of that stuff feels very personal. The social, when you do get your advocates to share your message from you, the power of my sister sharing a message with me is untold. I'd also suggest this, and this is coming, I'm taking my creative director role in Praising Republic's hat off and just being a man and a father and a husband. People are always afraid that, will we email our donors too often? Will we bombard them with too many ads? Is it sort of too much? And I'd say this, my two big charities, personal charities, are multiple sclerosis, my mother had it, and Alzheimer's because my father had it. It is not humanly possible for either the Multiple Sclerosis Society of Ireland or the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland to message me too often, or to ask me too often. It's just not possible. Because I care about those causes, that organizations so much, and your donors are the same. So I'd encourage people to remove that sort of fear of, oh, we're bombarding too much.
And also you can do things like split test that. So only maybe, remessage like half of your database after you've sent an email out and see do people drop off. So you can do tests to prove or disprove things like that.
Yeah.
Rather than, accept that as like what will happen. It's just, try and get some empirical evidence that is or isn't the case.
Testing is one of the great keys, isn't it, of digital, in that you can test the subject matter of an email a couple of times till you find the right one. I did learn that the tests are relevant. Is this back that the tests are relevant for that test? We've done campaigns for people where video performed better as a click through one year, and then it's switched to static images the next year. It's so the tests are relevant for that test. Would that be true?
Oh yeah, 100%. And even when you might be running keywords, just because they're in there doesn't mean you can't remove them. And same for the ads. You can even run experiments through Google Ads and do A/B testing, and the numbers then speak for themselves. And don't know until you test it really. So yeah, we'd definitely encourage it with all of our clients.
Sorry, I'm going to hug on the microphone because I'm very conscious of the time, and then it's nearly lunchtime. Thanks a million. I want to say thanks to everybody who came, who's watched over the last 2 sessions. To remind you, we will send out a link to recording of this and the previous session to everybody who's registered, and we'll send you out copies of the presentation as well, so you can go back over it in your own time. And I also want to stress on behalf of all the team in Persuasion Republic, our thanks to Havas for hosting us here and hosting these, and to say that we are available. We're here to help. You can't do all this on your own. Help is available. We're working with clients all the time, helping them build digital strategies, helping you with your capacity, and helping you with content, because your content is your key, giving you strategies for the content and helping to produce effective integrated content. We can give any advice or help you want, but please reach out to us, and we'll talk. All the details will be in the emails that we'll send you with the content. Adam, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, just as same from us. Thanks so much to Persuasion for coming along, and Persuasion for providing all of the technical setup and expertise and everything, and creating
Thanks to James and
this
Kate.
Content. James and Kate behind the camera, thank you so much. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. We've been working on this for quite a while. We've really enjoyed it. And yeah, to echo what Alan said, we're here to help. We kind of demonstrated the full breadth of everything that we offer, from SEO to social media to display to paid search. We can offer things like audits and things like that to help you to get a sense of where you're at if you're not quite sure, or just look, we're here to help with advice and anything that we talked about over the last couple of days. Please do feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of your budget. Everybody's got limited budgets. It is scalable. Everybody's struggling with capacity, which is why we hosted these sessions, to try demystify, try break it down, and see the simple building blocks that you can build, particularly as we come towards, because everybody is in Christmas mode, which allows me sign off. I'll be the first person to officially wish you all a happy Christmas. You can blame me later. Thanks a million to everybody who came and for taking part in it. And I hope you take the time to go back with the presentation yourself in your own time. Call us if you need.
Thank you.